Man, it has been a minute since we looked at a collector edition on this channel. So I'm pretty excited to see what collector editions look like as we approach the final quarter of 2025. We're going to be talking about Octopath Traveler today. If you guys like this content, please consider subscribing to the channel. I noticed my subscribers have been going down lately. It's kind of sad. So make my day and subscribe away. All right, so this was announced today. This is a Square Enix exclusive, okay? It's a new RPG that comes to Nintendo Switch, Nintendo Switch 2, PS4, PS5, the Xbox Series, and PC Steam, PC Windows. It's gonna come out on December 4th, 2025. New game, new adventure, new worlds to explore, all these great cool things, that same beautiful art style. One of the things I noticed in this pretty detailed blog post that talks about it is it's going to include town building, which is interesting. That'll be an interesting, fun element as you get to kind of build a town and then walk through it, and we'll see how that works out. But we're not talking about the game. We're talking about that juicy, juicy collector edition. So they're going to have the standard edition that comes with a small amount of pre-order bonuses in the game. Looks like some very basic items, a skill, a couple health potions, that sort of thing. Nothing too exciting. They're also going to release a digital deluxe edition, which includes everything I just read to you, as well as a digital art book and some decorations for your town. Some unique stuff, arches, tables, flags, that kind of thing. But if you want it all, you're going to want to pick up this bad boy. This is the collector's edition. I'm not going to tell you what it costs just yet, but it's a lot, okay? So the collector's edition, it's a Square Enix exclusive, okay? It's going to come with the game, which is a physical edition of the game. As far as I can tell, this is the physical edition of the game. I went through the notes. I'm not, a lot of these games release these like empty boxes where there's no disc in there. Or in the case of the Switch, it's this download voucher code thing. I don't know. I will say, though, this. I was bamboozled on the Doom Collector Edition because it said it was a physical copy of the game. I did get a disc. The disc contained a pointer to the store to download. So it wasn't actually a true copy of the game. So still not entirely clear on that. You know my stance on that. If you don't, you're new to the channel. I will not buy a collector edition if the physical disc is not included. To me, that defeats the purpose of the collector edition, which is why it pains me, but I am skipping out on the Ghost of Yotai collector edition because as a collector, I want my disc. All right, I've talked about that enough. You're going to get an art booklet. It looks pretty small. If it is to scale, it looks like it's about the size of the game box, so not very big. You're going to get a gaming mat of the entire continent of Ostera, which is where this game takes place, in this world of Ostera. I like gaming mats. There's no dimension on the gaming mat. I've got to believe, though, it's going to be a juicy size gaming mat because I am actually looking at my Final Fantasy VII gaming mat of Midgar, and it comfortably fits my keyboard, my mouse, and my Bardstown Bourbon Company bar runner. So I got plenty of room. So the gaming mats are nice. I don't need one, but they're nice to have to take to work or to cover up a surface that you want. And I think it's a nice thing. That's a cool addition to a collector's edition. I haven't seen that before. You're going to get an Arrangement, Break, and Boost Volume 3 CD. Now, I'm not entirely sure why they specifically call out Break and Boost Volume 3. I'm going to guess, without even looking, there was probably a similar Volume 1 and 2 for the other Octopath Traveler games. That's my guess. So this is just a continuation of that. The fact that it says arrangements is disappointing to me, only because that means it's not a complete soundtrack. One of the reasons I splurged and picked up the Visions of Mana Collector Edition was because it included the entire soundtrack. It was like 3 or 4 disc, like a box CD set. Square Enix does from time to time release music on their storefront, but if you look closely at the songs, they're not always the same lists. And there are times that they release various versions of the soundtrack. And it's typically Square Enix's style has been that on the original launch of the game, that is the true collector's edition soundtrack. Here, you're getting an arrangement. So you're getting a selection of it. So you might like a particular ditty, a character melody, something later on in the game that might not have made it to this CD. And that's why that disappoints me a little bit. You most likely can pick up the entire CD. They've been doing them on vinyl. They do them on digital, like Google Store or the Apple Music Store. Sometimes Spotify will have some of the listings, or even YouTube sometimes, not all the times. But sometimes you can pick them up that way. But just keep that in mind. It's an arrangement CD. You're going to get a deck of Traveler's playing cards, and those look cool. Looks like it's just a standard set of cards. And then obviously the logos are of the characters and of the world of Octopath, which is kind of neat. You're going to get an 8-sided die of wealth, power, and fame. I assume in the game that is some sort of in-game thing, like Gwent was in Witcher, I'm assuming. So you're going to get an 8-sided die. You're also going to get a ring of the Flamebringer, which comes in a little box, very similar to the ring that we got in the Dishonored 2 Collector Edition of Emily's Ring with the family crest on it here. This is the ring of the Flamebringer. Again, not really knowing what that is, but it's clearly important to the game. And then in addition to all that, you're going to get all the other stuff that I showed before, stuff from the Standard Edition, which is the digital rewards, as well as the digital rewards themselves from the Deluxe Edition with the various cosmetics for your world or your town that you're going to be building up. How much is this going to set you back? Well, if you live in the good old United States of America, it's going to set you back to, well, it's probably tiny, isn't it? Hold on. Well, that really kills the excitement when I pause. Drum roll. It's going to set you back $229.99. This does not include shipping. You will pay shipping for this. Square Enix has been good, though, about shipping early so that you get it on or slightly before the official launch. I've done other collector's editions with them, so that part's nice. Shipping is not cheap. It will set you back $20, give or take. So realistically, this is going to cost you north of $250 US. That is a massive ask. Now, Octopath Traveler, I would say, is definitely a game that has built up some notoriety and some prestige. I think the entries have been good, and it's been, a very, very interesting game that has spawned really a whole new genre of art when you think of that 2D, 3D, voxel kind of graphics, right? I don't know if it warrants this asking price when you look at what you get. I think back to like the God of War Ragnarok edition where you got Mjolnir, or the Jin Sakai mask from Ghosts of Tsushima. A lot of times collector editions will include a statue, like The Last of Us 2 included Ellie playing the guitar, or Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. We have a picture of the one-armed wolf himself holding the ninja sword, right? Here you're not really getting one specific thing, and I struggle to figure out where the value is in something like this. Working backwards, I don't know. Well, actually, I do know because they showed the price. I believe the standard edition of this game, it's not an $80 title. It's a $50 title, which is kind of interesting considering that we are entering this world of $80 games. So I appreciate the $50 price point. If you subtract that from the shipping and all that wonderful stuff, let's pretend shipping is free. We know it's not, because it's still not going to make sense to anybody, right? Let's walk through this. $230 sans $50. That is the game. Okay. Now you're at $180. Ask yourself, for $180, a soundtrack of an arrangement, as in not the official 6-disc set, a deck of cards, 3 die, a ring, a mouse mat, and an art booklet. If that is worth to you $180, I will post the link in the description box below. However, in my opinion, this is a bit steep. This to me is more like 125, maybe. I would go 150 if it included the entire soundtrack. If you look up games a lot of times on YouTube, you'll notice that almost one of the top 5 searches is the name of the game and then a space and then OST for official soundtrack, because the music in these games and Square Enix games, really in any game that means something to you, the music will always take you back to a place and time. And that means something to a lot of people. Clearly, it's a very popular search on YouTube, but the concern is obviously the arrangement piece of it. And that's why I said I'd give a little more for that. But north of $200 for what I'm physically holding in my hand seems ridiculous. But you be the judge. I will post a link to both this game description blog and the Square Enix store in the description box below. While you're down there, please consider subscribing to the channel. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side. Bye-bye.